Okay, in this video I'm going to talk about some of the more general things you should know when you're building a new character, and I'm going to go over some of the more specific things that are new in this most recent update. The first thing to know is that none of the systems or the mechanics are explained, so you have no real way of knowing what value something has or what anything really does, or if someone or something is good or bad. You just have to try different combinations of everything and see what works best. Also, there's no real clear story. You get this sense that the point in which you enter the story may be after something very important has happened, or as if something very important is about to happen. You piece everything together through item descriptions and from bits of dialogue from NPCs. There are various hacks and mods you can use to upscale how everything looks. Now, the base version is pretty rough in parts, so you will want to add lighting and textures where you can. You can turn time on and off as well. There is debate within the community about whether time even exists, however. There are glitches and exploits that haven't been patched yet, but I'll mention those later, and be sure to watch my separate video here on how to exploit glitches. The community has come up with various theories of the nature of the systems, but the true nature of the system wasn't realised until it failed. Items that you find in chests or boxes that you can't see until they're open may contain potential new geometries. Nobody knows exactly how many there are or where to find them, but you're going to want to pick up all of the alternative geometries that you come across. So, some of the most powerful items or pieces of equipment can only be obtained from rare drops, but you won't know if something is necessarily rare, as digital scarcity can be altered at any time, seemingly by anybody, anywhere. As you acquire various currencies, you can choose to invest them in a number of different attributes: connectivity, viability, presence, and so on. Pouring points into all the stats evenly is a pretty bad idea. It's always best to focus on the stats that most directly affect your playstyle. The other major thing to consider is that almost all equipment scales with your stats. So, if you have 40 connectivity, you would get an equivalent percentage bonus on an item that scales with the same stat. So, a +6 CES 16 SH06 Fade Noise Big Shirt would become a +9 CES 16 SH06 Fade Noise Big Shirt. Covert: the feeling of others wanting the item. Desire: the feeling of wanting the item. Now, these two stats are often stronger than the value of the item as a whole, so can therefore be quite misleading. Connectivity: your ability to invade or be invaded. A communication build will have a very high connectivity. Viability: this has to do with the application of the commodity fiction. Prescience: now, this is an object's future use or value. Presence, on the other hand, affects how here or there you are. So high presence in online play will significantly reduce offline presence. When your offline presence falls below a certain threshold, you will become a phantom. And affordance: this has nothing to do with what an item costs and is about what can be done with that item. Your standing in the world has less to do with your individual strengths and is more determined by what items you have equipped and where and when you are. So some items will have a higher value in the past or a higher value in the future. A lot of this is about assigning values to objects that have power to control your character's attributes. On average, you gain a level about once a year, but sometimes you'll be stuck at a level for a few years, and other times you might gain several levels at once after you've just completed a particularly major event. Item location seems to hold some significance, and we can look for meaning in where we find certain things. Building a character for PvP is different to building a character for PvE. The main difference between the two being whether or not you want to be online or offline. PvP build is called a communication build, and a PvE build is called an isolation build. Your stats alter in PvP in a number of ways, and they're also affected by world tendency and other player tendency. Now, when you equip an item in PvE, only you know that you have that item equipped, but if you equip the same item in PvP, you've allowed for the creation of a shared experience, and then the item goes on to exist as something to be experienced by others. Essentially, you're made up of all the stuff that you come into contact with. Even stuff that you just think about coming into contact with will count as a form of contact with that thing. What we call thinking is a form of action, a way our body organises our behaviour in response to those external causes that our so-called thoughts are about. The causes of your actions, your behaviour, are an extended collection of external causes deriving from external objects or the relationships between these external objects. Now, the order in which you encounter things will ultimately shape your character. It's not possible to sequence break because you can experience things in any order that you choose, but your experience of them will be affected by every previous experience you've had. Think of the body as a kind of proxy that allows objects in the world to manifest themselves. Your experience is in the outer world. It's not separate from the physical object you perceive, it is the object.